Should Tomlin be on the hot seat?
I think a mutual parting of ways could benefit everybody. Like, I think it could. I think that Mike Tomlin, for all of his strengths, it's pretty clear he's not going to be able to manufacture a team that has a competent offense unless he has a quarterback in place. And that's not, listen, I'm not going to kill him for it. There's a lot of good coaches that are that way. Not third rail, but a lot of people think that applied to Bill Belichick. You know what I mean? He, as great as he was defensively, if he didn't have the quarterback in place, it wasn't going to be able to work offensively. I think it's safe to say they're not winning a playoff game this year. I feel confident in that. Right now, there are 7 other teams that haven't won a playoff game since the 2017 season and now. The Jets, the Raiders, the Dolphins, the Panthers, the Cardinals, and then the Broncos and Bears, who could end that streak. Haven't won a playoff game in the last 8 years, however long that is. Those teams have been through 28 head coaches. So you normally don't get, now there has to be a happy medium between just always changing head coaches.
Part of it, yeah.
But I think that if the Steelers said, you know what, we're going to try for the first time ever this whole offensive-minded head coach thing, and if Mike Tomlin's like, I'm going to go somewhere where the quarterback's already there, and I don't have to spend so much of my time and energy trying to figure out how we're going to eke out 18 points with Mason Rudolph or Kenny Pickett or 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers or 39-year-old Big Ben at the end, I think could be best for everybody.
So for me, firing him seems extreme. The mutual parting of ways makes more sense because for me, when you look at the Steelers, I don't know if there's a coach that you can insert and when you're taking Mike Tomlin out and they could sustain the type of winning with what he has not had at quarterback. And so I don't want to discredit what he's done. However, in saying that, he talked about the standard is the standard. That's winning is our game, or I think it's
winning is entertainment.
Yeah, football is our game, and winning is our business, or we're in the business of winning. That's how he defines it. They haven't been in the business of winning when it matters most. That's the issue. And so when your messaging is consistent, but who's receiving that message isn't delivering because he talks about how the standard is upheld, it's with the players and how they perform time after time again on the field of play. That hasn't been the case when the messaging needs to be at its height, and that's the postseason. To your point, I don't care who you get in there, the standard of Pittsburgh is going to be winning in the postseason. Not just sustaining the tradition of winning in the regular season, which he's done better than any coach we've ever witnessed. And so I just don't think that they're going to be willing to immediately make that change. But at the same time, the messaging may have grown a little stale with the guys within that locker room. And in another locker room, it just hits. And they get off to a great rolling start.
Well, you said there's no coach out there or very few coaches out there that'll go in there and sustain the level of success that Tomlin has. But that's what they need. The problem is Tomlin.
They need to fall.
Yeah, Tomlin is so good that even without a quarterback for the last 9 years or whatever it's been, he's been able to get them in the playoffs several times, win 9, 10 games, whatever. They're going to keep doing that. If Tomlin stays, Rodgers, let's say he leaves next year, they're bringing Kyler Murray, whoever, they're going to be the same team. They're basically the same as they were last year with Mason Rudolph. They're going to be the same team if they get rid of Tomlin. And I don't want to say get rid because I think hot seat isn't the right term. I agree with you, like Nick does, mutual parting of the ways. I got that written down. No, but like they don't generally fire.
All right, at this point, the conversation is becoming circular. And we're skirting the central issue because there's a palpable reluctance to show any disrespect toward Mike Tomlin. There's even hesitation to state the obvious, that his seat should be warming. But that is simply the nature of professional sports. That is how this operates. Bill Belichick's seat grew hot. Nick Sirianni just secured a Lombardi trophy, and now his seat is warming. That is the established pattern. If a figure like Bill Belichick can be dismissed, then any coach is susceptible. Andy Reid was once fired. Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl and was later let go. You cannot shield someone behind past accomplishments alone. The statement, Mike Tomlin is an exceptional coach, a great coach, can be simultaneously true, and I believe it is. I am an admirer of Mike Tomlin's work. However, the present reality demands a more nuanced assessment. The common retort is, well, who could have succeeded with Mason Rudolph under center? I concede that point, and it does reflect positively on Tomlin's ability to manage difficult circumstances. But here's the critical deficiency with the Mike Tomlin paradigm. His approach seems to be, it's acceptable. We can manage with Mason Rudolph. We can navigate these challenges. In contrast, a genuinely great offensive-minded head coach possesses the capacity to elevate the situation. Consider a coach like Kevin O'Connell. His attitude is, give me Sam Darnold. I can win with Sam Darnold. Or, let's acquire Daniel Jones. While circumstances limited that particular experiment, a coach like Shane Steichen likely thinks, give me Daniel Jones. I can make this function. These offensive innovators have the vision to identify and develop specific talents. They wouldn't simply resign themselves to, I guess we're winning with Mason Rudolph. If Shane Steichen were currently leading the Pittsburgh Steelers, he likely would have advocated, yes, let's bring in Daniel Jones. I can scheme around his skills. Furthermore, do not trade George Pickens. I will manage that relationship. If you still wish to acquire a CeeDee Lamb caliber player, I now have Daniel Jones. I have Pickens. Let's bring in a DK Metcalf. We will be formidable. This is what I require from a personnel standpoint. We are not prioritizing defense in the draft. I need offensive line support. These coaches can elevate an offense even without a proven elite quarterback. We have witnessed this with the Indianapolis Colts, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Seattle Seahawks. Those franchises can assess the landscape and conclude, you know what? We can bring in Sam Darnold. The Steelers had the opportunity to pursue a similar path. They did not. They could have targeted Daniel Jones. They abstained. They could have explored an option like Mac Jones. The distinction lies in having an offensive architect you can wholly trust. You can present the question, should we pursue Mac Jones, or is that merely a short-term illusion? A premier offensive coach can respond with conviction. No, I can make Mac Jones effective. I understand his capabilities. We have the supporting infrastructure. We can secure numerous victories with him. We will be markedly better with Mac Jones than with our current combination of Mason Rudolph, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, or a diminished Aaron Rodgers. This is the precise quality that is absent within the Mike Tomlin framework. One need look no further than the decision to part ways with George Pickens, who is now arguably a top 2 or top 3 wide receiver in the entire league. That is a catastrophic organizational failure. It is an indefensible misstep. It truly is. Mike Tomlin deserves accountability for that outcome. He warrants blame. It is an inescapable fact. When a franchise has not secured a playoff victory in what feels like an eternity, the head coach's position will inevitably grow tenuous. That is the fundamental rule of engagement. A perennial non-losing record and a past Super Bowl victory do not confer invincibility. Bill Belichick secured Super Bowl after Super Bowl. When a subsequent stretch of several years passed without a championship, the organization ultimately moved on. That is the precedent. It has been impressive to observe what Mike Tomlin has achieved with the roster at his disposal, but it is equally true that it has been insufficient. Furthermore, there is a growing sense that the defensive units constructed under his tenure have not been truly exceptional, which presents a separate but compounding problem. If you could definitively state, these defenses have been phenomenal, special, among the league's best, then the narrative could shift to, all right, we simply need to solve the quarterback puzzle. The Steelers must be fully committed to hiring an offensive mastermind. They could have aggressively pursued a top offensive coordinator, empowered him with full autonomy, and declared, you are the architect of this offense. You have final say. This is analogous to what the Philadelphia Eagles did with Vic Fangio on defense, or what Andy Reid does with Steve Spagnuolo. The directive is clear. You command the defense. You are the defensive genius. You devise the solutions. The defense is your domain. That is the level of delegation required for Mike Tomlin to apply to the offensive side of the ball. However, If the defense he oversees is also failing to meet elite standards, then the fundamental question becomes, what is the defining strength here? What is the core identity? All these factors converge to justify the hot seat designation. It is a logical conclusion. The crucial caveat is that you do not dismiss a coach of Tomlin's stature merely for the sake of change, a mistake many franchises make in a panic. You must possess a coherent, actionable plan. The New England Patriots exemplified this with their transition. They identified Jared Mayo as the successor. There was a clear strategic vision. We are making this change, and we know precisely who we intend to hire. I am uncertain which available candidate represents that definitive upgrade for the Steelers at this moment. I genuinely do not know. If the organization wishes to retain Tomlin, a radical alternative would be to pursue an elite offensive coordinator, perhaps someone like Mike McDaniel if he becomes available, and grant him complete offensive sovereignty. Yet this still necessitates solving the quarterback dilemma, and you would not want such a coordinator attempting to build around Mason Rudolph. This returns to the essential confidence of a top offensive mind. I can succeed with a Mac Jones, a Daniel Jones, a Baker Mayfield. I can elevate this quarterback's play. You can discern the difference between a Mason Rudolph and a Sam Darnold, or you possess the coaching acumen to transform a Mason Rudolph into a Sam Darnold. That is the transformative power of a great offensive coach, and its importance to team success cannot be overstated. In its absence, an organization suffers severe consequences. Observe the Philadelphia Eagles under Nick Sirianni. They lack an offensive mastermind, and the offense is now faltering. They have a head coach who appears incapable of resolving those schematic issues. This is a monumental problem that perpetually leaves him vulnerable to dismissal, regardless of past success. The sentiment becomes, "Thank you for the championship. We will provide a glowing recommendation. Best of luck elsewhere." That is the professional reality. This is why these individuals command astronomical salaries. If you offered me $10 million annually to endure public criticism and annual calls for my dismissal, I would accept that arrangement without hesitation. Bring on the scrutiny. Pay me the substantial sum year after year, and I will accept that my performance will be dissected and my job security questioned annually. That is an inherent component of the agreement. It comes with the territory. But these are simply my personal reflections and evaluations. I would absolutely be delighted to hear your own. What are your thoughts on the Pittsburgh Steelers' current trajectory? Should Mike Tomlin's job security be under intense scrutiny? Please share your viewpoints in the comment section below. I make it a point to read every single comment that is posted, so whether you are in full agreement with me or you fundamentally disagree, I want to hear from you. Let's ignite some engaging discussions. Let's engage in some spirited debates. But ultimately, let's simply enjoy the experience and have a great time. Please do consider subscribing to the channel. We are in the process of cultivating a truly wonderful community here, and I would absolutely be thrilled to have you as a part of it. My goal is to build something that we all feel a genuine connection to, something that we are truly enthusiastic and proud to be involved with. And I believe we are making significant progress toward achieving that objective. Please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it genuinely and substantially assists with visibility within the platform's algorithm. Thank you so very much for your time and engagement.